Microsoft also has launched its first large-scale wind farm outside of the United States in Ireland, isn't that right? And seeing this kind of transformation in the energy markets, where you see large corporations becoming energy producers as well as consumers, how is this going to change the market system, market model?
To be honest, I see it very favorably, because when corporations do it, the governments don't need to do it. So we're off the hook. But this is something that you might need to cut afterwards then. But jokes aside, I think it's a very welcome development. And with the electricity market design, we're trying to ensure that these power purchase agreements, for example, or these types of initiatives are not hampered by over-regulation.
This was a case in Ireland, as I understood, as well. It's difficult to get. You know, people want the renewable energy, but not in my backyard. And this local knowledge is critical to getting the PPAs done.
The public acceptance is another thing with these projects, but when you talk specifically about the electricity market design, then I think one thing we need to realize is that electricity now, with very much interconnected countries, is becoming international commodity like any other, up to extent of the interconnections, of course. But this means that the public policies in one member state could affect negatively or positively another member state quite a lot. And I think this market design now, what we do in the council, we are trying to make sure that there are at least no disruptions on the wholesale markets when it travels across borders. So you're free to do whatever you want in your member state, but it should not have a negative influence to the markets and to end consumers.
Okay.
But on the public acceptance, I think it's very important what Megan mentioned, the energy communities, for example. Another aspect that we are concerned with, we should really try to find ways how to ensure that the citizens want to buy into the energy transition, and energy communities are one vehicle for this. And we've had a couple of events.
How do you incentivize it? How do you persuade local communities that this is in their interest?
This comes of money, of course, and this comes back to the digital tools, because I, as an Estonian, I can log into a portal using my EID, and then I can see my historical consumption data for all the consumption points that I have contracts with. So I see the graphs. Then when I feel like my electricity supplier is charging me too much, I have a bad contract, I can tick boxes next to companies that I would like to have an offer from. I allow them to use my data once, my historical consumption data, and they make me a real offer, real money terms, based on my consumption. How much will I pay with this contract, with this contract? So people immediately see the comparison moment. They don't have to leave their home. It's not complicated. You do a few clicks and you can really see the savings. And we're having many examples where this works with energy efficiency as well. For example, there are some initiatives that want to make public information on energy performance certificates. So you can see that, you know, my house is B, but my neighbor is A. So what should I improve to have A-class house as well, and so on and so forth. So these digital tools really make it exciting, make it appetizing, and make you want to engage.
Sam, do you see this consumer approach not just being about the neighbors, but also being about the corporations, where the large users are saying, well, we do it better than them, our product is greener than theirs? Is this the kind of consumer approach that's going to change the market?
I think there is a reputational element to it, and certainly in the early stages of RE100 it was very much about corporate social responsibility, reputation, etc. But to be honest, most of our members are now talking about the business case for renewables. It's still doing the right thing, but it's also a way of saving or making money. And Microsoft, for example, famously have invested 3 billion in the European renewables system over the past 3 years, I think. and IKEA now own more wind turbines than they do stores. And so this is, and they're not making these investments just because it feels nice. These are hard-headed businesses and that are making a return on these investments. And I think there is a consumer element as well. I'm mentioning IKEA. They're now marketing rooftop solar. So you can go into your IKEA and buy a rooftop solar plant, and I think that starts to capture the public imagination. And some of our members, Mars, for example, now have a renewable powered M&M. You can a little wind power stamp on it because their M&Ms are made using wind power. And we're seeing one of our large brewery members will be launching something fairly soon. So look out for renewably powered beer.
So, Pierre, when we look at this changing market, part of it is corporate responsibility, there are other dynamics, but the transparency element is going to be critical as well, and the guarantees of origin. Are you concerned about how guarantees of origin are perceived, or do you think this will become a more acceptable, more transparent?
Yeah, I mean, just to pick up on Sam's point, corporate renewable PPAs are an emerging trend in renewables. It's a very significant development because, as Sam said, it's being driven by the consumer. It's being driven by the corporate consumer. So it's not us trying to tell the story of renewables. It's those large brands basically doing it because it makes business sense for them. So if you look in 2016, we had 1 gigawatt of corporate renewable PPA. Of wind, in fact, that was contracted under corporate renewable PPAs. That was 3 times as much as the year before. So a very important development, and it's going to be increasingly relevant as we move towards basically developing renewables based on market signals. Now, if you want to sign a corporate PPA, and this is part of the chart of RE100, from what I understand, you need a guarantee of origin to be able to demonstrate, the environmental credential of what you're doing. And this is where we go into really the details of the clean energy package, where we need to get this right. There's a proposal on the table for these guarantees of origin to be auctioned by the member states. That really breaks the link between the generator, between my members and the consumer, Sam's members. And it's extremely unfortunate because it's really stifling the development of new business models that are really going to ultimately drive the energy transition. So we need to get this right. We need to have legislation, text on geos that basically ensures that they become an enabler of these corporate renewable PPAs, and that we get the language right on that.
Do you have concerns that there be a fictional trade in geos, in the sense that there's a double subsidy element to this, but also that you may not be able to tell quite what the reality is by the company that issues the geo?
I'm not sure where the double subsidy issue comes from, to be fair, because if you have a feed-in tariff which is administratively set, you can very easily deduct the value of the guarantee of origin from that, so you take care of it that way. If your support mechanism is dictated by the market in an auction, it's going to be priced in by the bidder. So the bidder will say, okay, I have my guarantee of origin, that's going to be my revenue, and I will price in when I do my bid. So there's really not a major issue with overcompensation there. Fundamentally, if you're signing a corporate renewable energy PPA, de facto you have a material impact on a renewable energy project that's being built or that's generating green electricity. Therefore, you're basically contributing to the transition of the energy of the European energy system. So it's very, very important that we keep this in mind when we discuss issues around GEOs and corporate renewable PPAs going forward. It could be a very important enabler going forward.
Okay. Megan, do you see do you see a light touch from the Commission as a regulator on this, or are you going to set clear standards which have to be adhered to for the likes of GEOs? Are you going to insist on?
Oh my goodness! You want me to specifically respond on the GEOs and what the Commission is going to do? But the Commission's legislative proposal is already on the table. Now it's in the Commission, in the Council and Parliament to discuss the details. So the Commission, by definition, stands by its proposal.
Do you consider it a light touch, or is it?
I can't speak on whether it's a light touch or a heavy touch. That's really a subjective thing, isn't it? But but I wanted to add something else on a different aspect. Sure. But you go on the light touch, heavy touch, and I'll come back to my point later.
All right, I think it's breaking in through an open door, because this has been changed already a bit. So the council acknowledges the purposes for the GOs. So the text as it stands now, and everyone can search for it on the council website, free for all, full transparency. A member state by default does not auction the GOs, so the producer has the control. And this is what we intend to keep in the text, that really we have created this, for better or for worse, we have created this piece of paper, a virtual piece of paper, I mean, the real electrons in the system have nothing to do with that in any case. But there is purpose for it, not only for the PPAs, but for the greenhouse gas calculations, for ensuring to the end consumers that what they are really buying from their suppliers. So I think we're okay.